Good morning, my dear students. This is your history class. Today I will discuss chapter number 2, writing and city life. In this chapter we will know about the writings, when it was emerged, when it comes from, where it comes from, what is the means of the language and the script. According to this, we will discuss in this chapter. So some of the important terms here, the developments of the writing systems in Mesopotamia. Here the Mesopotamia, it is derived from the Greek word. First is the Mesos and Potamus, which is meaning of the rivers, situated. Mesos means middle and Potamus means situated. It is the name of the civilization. It is also termed as a trade center. So, in orally, we will say Mesopotamia was situated between the two rivers Tigris and Euphrates. Here, one question for you. First, we want to know about the writing. What is language? What is language? It is related to key sound which counting certain meaning. It is also termed as language is an sound which is counting verbal communication or verbal expression. This is also known as the language, which is spoken or which is written. Another question is how language is different from script. Then how language is different from script. What do you understand about the language? Language is a spoken sound conveying or the counting certain meaning. This is termed as a language related to the sounds, verbal communication, and the script is related to the visual sign or literal communications. It is a spoken language. Verbal communication. It is termed as visual sign or verbal communications also means literal communication. So the introduction about this writings. All societies have the language in which certain spoken sounds convey certain meanings. This is a verbal communication. Every communities, every societies, every section of the societies have different types of the language, different types of the verbal communication. When we want to know about the any states verbal communications, their expressions is also said. This is, they can use symbol, they can use expression, or they created different types of the sound which is conveyed by the same community people. Writing is to verbal communication, but in a different way. You can talk about writing in a script. It means that spoken words are represented. When I have used in the verbal communication, it is write down. It is written format. Then it is said to be, this is the writing section of your verbal communication. How can you achieve? In ancient times, the verbal communications, it was created, it was maintained. Here one term is cuneiform. Cuneiform, it is derived from a Latin word cunus, which means width. And forma means shape. This is the literal means of the cuneiform, where what the symbols are represented, the writings in a shape like as this. This is also a symbol. This is also a represented symbols. This is termed as the cuneiform. So, Mesopotamians was most well known for the writing system. This is called the cuneiform. After it, I will discuss some of the important other facts which are related to your study, to your examination. The first Mesopotamians writings which was found on the tablet written around 3200 BCE. It contains picture like sign and the numbers. First writings tablets was emerged approximately 3200 BCE, and on its tablets many symbols, many signs and the numbers was excavated. What was the needs of the writing? Needs of writing for maintaining the dictionaries, to keep records of the transactions, helpful for the trading and narrating the deeds of the king. In ancient time, how can you observe? Nowadays, when it is not written, formats was not found by you. Then it is said, I don't know about anything because I have nothing, records of the history. So the writings as the textual formats or the another formats written on a tablets, written on a wet clay tablets, This is represented as a historian's evidences. They maintain their dictionaries, they maintain and their records, and in this records they narrating the deeds of the kings of the ancient time. What were the methods of the writings in Mesopotamia? Method of writing in Mesopotamia. Mesopotamian wrote on tablets, which I already told to you. It was a wet clay tablets. When it dried in the sun, then it was confirmed that is the written text and evidences for a long time you can use. A scribe would wet clay and pat it into the size he could hold comfortably. Means one hand you can capture, then it was the tablet size. On this tablet size, most of the symbols, most of the sign relating to the uniforms, relating to your writings, which was executed, which were written in the formats of the symbols. So on its smoothened surface, with the how can they execute it on it? They use the sharp end of the reeds. Here we are also discussing 4 world famous civilization. Rivers, civilization in the world. First is Mesopotamian civilizations. It was situated between Tigris and Euphrates river. Second is Egyptian civilization. First is Mesopotamian, Tigris and Euphrates. Tigris and Euphrates. Second is Egyptian civilizations, which is situated near the bank of Nile river. Third is Indian civilizations. It is also termed as the Indus Valley civilizations. It is known as Indian civilization, which is situated near about Indus river. And the fourth, ancient China Mesopotamia civilization. Ancient it was situated near about Huanghe. This is also named as Elo river. Why it is called the Elo river? Once a time it was flooded and destroyed all the natural resources and the populations, disturbed the people's livelihood. So it is called the Elo rivers. I introduce most of the things from this chapter. Again, we are also discussing some of the important facts in front of you. Writing and city life. In the introductions of this chapter, city life began in Mesopotamia. The lands between Euphrates and the Tigris river, it was situated. Now it is part of the Republic of Iraq. The name Mesopotamia derives from the Greek words Mesos and Potamus. It is also said already it was situated in the middle of rivers. Potamus here in the meaning of Potamus, situations near about bank of the river. This is the full form of the meanings of the Potamus. It is also termed as a once a time river. It was termed as a once a time situations. In the beginning, to records of the history, the lands mainly urbanized south. This is called the Sumerian and Akkad. So this is also included in it. Some of the important facts which I am just explaining in front of you. Geography and its surroundings. First, we also know about the timeline. Timeline. First, which communities established their empire? First, which empire established their kingdom? Firstly, Sumerian. When it was merged, 3500 BC to 2300 BC. According to this, after that Sumerians, the Akkadians established their empire. Towards 2300 BC, 1900 BC. After it, two another empire established, Babylonia, BC to 1300s, and the last empire has been established by the Assyrians. 1300s BC to 612 BC. This was the timelines of the emperorship. This was the timeline of the kingship, when which communities has established their ruling society. And after it, we also know about the first language of this land was Sumerian, because here the first emperorship of the Sumerian has been established approximately 3500 BC, and it was running out 2300 BC. Second, we also know Mesopotamia and its geography. Where it was situated. So it is also said, one comment for you. Iraq is a land of diverse environments. So it is also termed as the Mesopotamia is situated now the Republic of the Iraq. Northeast, this is the symbol. Northeast, this is is the situation north east. Here green plants covered mountain ranges with the clear stream and wild flowers with the enough rainfalls to grow the crops. So it was geographical situations of the northeast where the Mesopotamia achieved minerals, rich resources, and here the agriculture was also practiced between 700 to 600 BC. Agriculture practiced BC to 600 BC. This was the evidences found from the Mesopotamia that here agriculture was practiced. On which dates? Now I just move up the north side. This is the north side. Whole of the north side. Stretch of the uplands called the steppes, where animals herding offers peoples a better livelihood than agriculture. Here agriculture was practiced, but the whole of the parts of the north only for the grazing of the cattle. It was used herding of cattle than the agriculture. And now I just move of the east side. This is full part of the east. In this parts, in this directions, tributaries of the Tigris provided routes of the communications into the mountain of the Iran. Then it was the trading route of Tigris. Of Tigris river, where it was goes on, then it went out and reached to Iran. In between, it was passing through the ranges of the mountains. And last we also discussed of the southern part of Mesopotamia. This was the whole part of the south. Desert lands, and it's where the first cities and the writing emerged. If one question is created from here, where was the first cities was emerged? In the south direction. First cities emerged. Where the first cities was emerged, and there was the first writing was also emerged. It was mainlands, but it is also called desert land. According to this, we also know most of the contents from this chapter, most of the topic from the every contents, every topics. So we just move next topic. According to this, what was the geographic condition of the Mesopotamia? Geographic conditions: little rainfall, hot and dry climate. First is little rainfall, where the having the little air quality, it is also truth, the hot and dry climate. And windstorms leaving muddy rivers valley winter. Windstorms leaving muddy rivers and valley winter. After it, one is another topics which is important for your arid soil. Which type of soil was found? Arid soil. Containing little minerals, because it was arid. It was containing little minerals. It is also termed as a barren, not fertile land. What was the significance of the urbanism? Urban, whereas the vast majority of the peoples are living, this is termed as the urban. Where less rich minerals, wherein a less number of the minerals was found, it is also correlating to the urban society. The earliest cities in the Mesopotamians date back to the Bronze Age. It was started 300 BC. This is also known as the Bronze Age. Why it is called the Bronze Age? Because in this age we also find tin and copper, because we used most of the weapons, most of the components which was made by the copper. So this is also known as the Bronze Age. It is an alloy. Two components of the tin and copper made the bronze. Cities and the towns are not just places with a large population. It is a when economy develops in a sphere other than the food productions, then it becomes an advantage for the peoples to the cluster in the town. It is already told to you that where the vast majority of the peoples are living, this is termed as an urban city. So here the cluster of the peoples are living. It is not just a place, but it is also large cities or the towns also, where the spheres in the measure of food productions, where the economy was developed. There must be a social organizations in the cities. Fuel, metals, various stones, wood and etc. comes from many places for the manufacturing. It means trading is also concept of the organism. Trade. First is trade. Second is developed economy. And the third is vast majority of production or manufacturing. Urban economies often requires to keeping of the written records. So next, movements of goods into the cities. Movements of goods into the cities. Food resources were abundant in the Mesopotamia but lacked stones, wood and metals, because the agriculture practice was practiced in the northeast part of the Mesopotamia, but the lacking of the metals. It was imported from Iran and Turkey. Which type of the metals? Like as wood, copper, tin, silver, gold, shell stones, which was imported from the Turkey and the Iran also. They exported their textiles and the food resources. What they exported? Mesopotamian exported their textiles and the food resources, which was because here the agriculture practice and productions was achieved a lot of resources, and the transport is also important for the urban development. Euphrates become a world routes. So the movements of the goods, one city to the another city, export and imports, relationship, transactions were observing from the Euphrates rivers, because it was the communications route, it was also trading route. Some of the important topics which are also concerning in front of you. Most of the part which are involving what was the culture of the Mesopotamia, then movements of the goods and into the cities by the trading concept of the Euphrates rivers. It was the trading route. It is also communication route. I will just move on the Mesopotamian culture. Mesopotamian valued city life. After cities were destroyed in a war, they records in its poetry the pride of the Mesopotamia about their town shown in the epic of the Gilgamesh. When we study of the epics like as Gilgamesh, then we also know about the town concept, town planning of the Mesopotamia, where first cities was immersed, then it is also termed as the Mesopotamia. After the cities, why it was destroyed? It was the natural calamities due to the floodings of the rivers. There were three kinds of the cities. First, cities that developed around temples. Cities developed around temples. Second, cities that developed as city center of trade. As center of trade. And the third, it was also termed as imperial city. Three types of the cities were immersed. First is the all around of the temples. Most of the peoples lived there, where the trading center was conceptualized. Then it is also termed as the city, and where was the kings lived. That is also imperial cities. This is also a royal city. So this is the culture. This is the Mesopotamian cultures of the Mesopotamian cities. After its a trading towns in a pastoral zone. A trading town in pastoral zone. Pastoral zone. This is the term which is come from the movement of the peoples. Nomadic. This is also taken as a nomadic. Nomadic. What was the concept of the Mesopotamia? In the Mesopotamian societies, the nuclear family system was the norm. The father was the head of the family. Narrow winding streets indicates wooden carts would not have the reached many of the houses. Situation: nuclear family was immersed. Narrow street was profound. Head of the family was father. It means in the Mesopotamian civilizations, it was a paternal system emerged. Town plannings and the street drains were absent at Ur. Here too, and another cities mentioned in these chapters: Ur, Mari, Uruk, Babylonia, and others. So the Ur, after the 2000s BC, the royal cities of the Mari flourished. Mari was located on the upstream of the Euphrates river. Each groups would come as the herders and the harvest laborers or the hired soldiers from the settled town. According to this is the figures. Here most of the cities are immersed, like as Ur, Mari, Uruk, Babylonia, etc. So this is important chapter for you. After the discussions, you have any doubts, you have any queries, then you can ask in next upcoming classes. Thank you. Have a nice day.